going to tie an alternate pattern out of our cruncher pack. And what I'm going to tie here is a snatcher. So the hook that we have here has a degree of a curve to it which will lend itself to this style of fly basically. I'm going to use the red thread and we'll take it down the shank, and then we're going to tie in our rib. So we can use our red rib if we want from the previous pack, or from this pack, sorry, but from a previous pack I had a silver wire, so I'm going to use a bit of my silver wire. I'm going to tie that in here and then take it down round the bend. So for the body, we can use our pheasant tail if we want, or we could use the flat tinsel that we got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pearl tinsel. I'm going to tie this in here at the back. I'm going to tie it in sort of long, and the reason for that is we tie it back to where we ended our body here, and then as we tie across it, it'll sort of help to level as we move up to the front of our fly. So I would tend to flip these things because I think it's easier to wrap into the cup. It's less likely to slide out on you. And then we're going to wrap in touching or overlapping turns. It's up to yourself. If you wrap them overlapping, you'll get a more opaque sort of look to it. Take that forward roughly to the point where we'd have our head and tie it in, and then I'll flip the fly back to normal and just tie over that. So now we're going to wrap our hackle. So snatchers tend to be fairly sparse, so what you could do here is to half strip it. So if we look at this furnace hackle that we have here, I quite like the fact that there's a transition, so what I'm going to try and do is make use of the this black portion at the front, and then we're going to transition into this colored here. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be wrapped on like this. So this is the leading edge, so I'm going to strip that off, except for the front bit here, because I'm going to put on 1 or 2 turns just of that black section. So as you can see, we have a half stripped hackle. I'm going to tie that on. Trim off the stop. Take our hackle pliers, and then I'm just going to fold this back on itself so the initial bit is doubled. And then I'm going to wrap that. So we've basically, say, 1 to 2 turns at the front there, and then we're into our half stripped hackle, and we're going to take that down the body. Fairly wide open turns. As I said, they tend to be a fairly sparse fly. So it's kind of up to yourself as to what your intention to fish it, or where you intend to fish it is, as to how you do that, as how densely hackled you want your fly. So at the back here then, I'm going to take my wire and catch in my hackle, and then I'm going to wrap forward, but what I want to do is I'm sort of wiggling because I don't want to tie down my hackle fibres, if at all possible. If we see any of them getting tied down, we just use a needle or the point of your scissors and just release them, and then we take our wire rib up through, hopefully in fairly evenly spaced ribs. Cut it off, and then I'll take it through the hackle at the front and tie across it. Once we've tied across it, what I'm going to do is just wiggle it, and that'll snap it off. And save you cutting wire with your good scissors. Even up the head. And finish it off. Trim that. And then it's time to varnish it, and that is the fly complete. So, again, the snatcher, like the cruncher, is a style, and you can vary this with whatever materials are at hand, so long as you sort of stick to the same kind of shape around the bend, sparsish on the hackle. And again, it will imitate all manner of different things. So as I said, depending on the colour scheme that you tie it, you could get olives, you could get nymphs. Here, as I said, because we've used the pearl, you can probably say that it would imitate sedges, and it would also imitate fry to a certain degree. But just another option with the pack that you have.